All right, this is Chief Crow and the Flat Earthworms. Where's the curve? We are live, 8/21/2024, and where is it anyway? It's in the minds of the curverts. They don't even see it; they just pretend to. Artificially bend the horizon as they bend our news. We're on the bent world stage, and it basically, if you ask me, this question is the fundamental question that gives this entire topic any value. The flat Earth question is valid. The flat Earth model is not. It's just a big picture question, and it makes you ask yourself, where do you place your trust? Your own perceptions, or have you outsourced it to the little black box? Joined by HBIC, Josh Lebsock, Dwayne Aubith, HLG, Slick Rick 333, Frank Mers, Invalus LAC, and R Cook. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. I know there's only about 33 in the raft, but that's generally enough to declare this open. So let's begin with our recent conversation was about Trump derangement syndrome, and we had noted these parallels between Alec Baldwin and Trump and Robert De Niro and Trump. And the Robert De Niro stuff is all recent. And the other day I noted the significance of him jumping off the yacht on his birthday shortly after making these statements about Leonardo DiCaprio. On the same day, it was reported, widely shared too, that he had been kicked off of Twitter. Well, it turns out that was misinformation. It didn't really happen. Not that it matters, but that was the hullabaloo that drew my attention and JL's attention to Robert De Niro. But someone pointed out that I need to watch King of Comedy because, in addition to Joker, it may give us some clues about his role here. So, no, Robert De Niro wasn't banned by Musk. This was fact checked this morning by USA Today. So, this is the desert of the designated real. None of us are attributing any objective reality to any of this, but as they curate your reality, the official version is he wasn't banned. The claim was that Musk banned woke Robert De Niro from X. And I happen to think that Trump derangement syndrome from De Niro, Baldwin, and even Luke Skywalker, I think it's all fake. I think it's contrived. It's part of an act, it's part of a gig, and the predictive programming makes that clear. Breaking: Elon Musk permanently bans Robert De Niro from platform X. I don't want. Now, this is false. Like I said, it was widely reported. It had 3,000 likes. And apparently, the person who posted it on Instagram is not answering USA Today, who have reached out for a comment. But yes, this was a false claim. And it's kind of interesting because it's like fake fake. You know, we're in the, like I call it, desert of the designated real because it's real if they say it's real. It has nothing to do with objective reality. It's more about from their perspective. And this has been a problem for some time, and it's getting worse as visual literacy um, becomes a thing of the past, as deep fakery eclipses what we can create in quote reality in terms of its believability. It's crazy. Like, fake is realer than real at this point. Okay, moving on. Phones are open, by the way. Tom Hughes is here. Pippi Langstruff says, yo, exploring again. Elephant Tusks, Mizell, thank you for joining. 777. I want to say thanks to all of you who have picked up copies of the AutoHoaxology 101 textbook. And this AutoHoaxCon, this whole thing, is actually just a really elaborate book tour. And the book is really there to foment this culture of disbelief and make it grow from this small think tank to something that could actually be a competitor with Trutherville. And it really should be. I mean, I think there are a lot of salvageable people who are maybe possibly drinking Kool-Aid still at this late stage, but it won't last forever. And the reason we have to do this before the election is that after the election, there's going to be a lot of disaffected, lost MAGA sheep. And the QAnon Kool-Aid is going to dry up. There aren't going to be any more breadcrumbs, and they're going to be looking for answers. And so perhaps post-election, it might be kind of fertile ground there to go out there and talk about how they got psyoped and led around like a bunch of sheep. And there's no shame in it because we're all programmed. We all had to deprogram. Ted Stryker says, hate to be late. Thank you for ordering the book and also the tickets. I don't know the exact count right now. Let me check. Now, it's not until September 28th. And I didn't choose this date for any special astrological reason. I chose so far 5. And again, this is going to be next month on the 28th. I chose that date because it's a Saturday. It's after my payday, and I will be hiring a cinematographer. And then I also want to be able to afford whatever else we need to make the day go smooth. But it's going to be a Zoom conference. There will be a Q&A for ticket holders. Elephant says, Tim, isn't it hilarious they made Biden give his own eulogy the other night? Not only that, but they put him at the end after everyone went to sleep so nobody watched. Yeah, there is some kind of talk now that he was forced out, that Nancy Pelosi put a gun to his head. I hear a lot of this. I don't find it believable. Trump is calling it a coup. I'm not really quite sure. But I'm just basing my assessment not on a deep understanding of politics because it's theater, in my informed opinion, but rather on the predictive programming. And the predictive programming has had these neural pathways bored through our minds, our collective psyche for so long that have been telling us that there's Trump, there's the head wound scenario, and then there's Kamala, or an equivalent, and I think it would be her. Oh, by the way, speaking of head wound, we talked about, and also Jurassic Liars has talked about Salman Rushdie. So briefly, Salman Rushdie wrote the Satanic Verses, a very offensive book, offensive towards Islam, and there was a hit put out on a fatwa. So there's a hit on him for $3.3 million for 33 years. So after 33 years, he's at an event speaking about authors being able to speak their minds without fear of reprisal and violence. As he hits the stage, a 24-year-old rushes the stage, knocks him over, and stabs him over the course of 27 seconds, including stabbing him through his eye. So we look at this. Salman Rushdie, eye patch, 33 years, $3.3 million, all kinds of hoaxy vibes, through and through. Plus I guess there's some deeper connections between him and the 9/11 narrative, but the main thing is this. There's something about the 33 and the eye wound that had us thinking this may have something to do with Trump and this predictive programming for the head wound. So if you look here, there's an image of him. Indian-born British-American novelist, magical realism, historical fiction, and here he is with one of his eyes blacked out, his right eye, where they were aiming on Trump, or where Trump's going to get it, depending on how the story goes. And I'm kind of thinking that we're still waiting for this. So I walked into the library today and I saw his new book out called Knife, Meditations After an Attempted Murder. And I wanted to read it because I thought this should be interesting to see what he has to say after being attacked or supposedly attacked. And I'm guessing this is a psyop. So I open it up and I'm reading through it, and the very first chapter has the only illustration in the book. Now I'll preface this with, when we were looking at the Paris Olympics intro ceremony, they have the image of the bullet sticking in the eye of the moon from Trip to the Moon. And we said, hey, this is some more predictive programming for this Trump thing. So when you open up the book, he's talking about how he's taking a walk around this campus and he sees a full moon and he has free association and he starts thinking about this particular film and this image. And he says, I had no idea. I remembered the image of the spaceship wounding the moon's right eye, of what the next morning had in store for my own right eye. So it's kind of fascinating that we have this artifact that we have categorized or grouped in with this body of predictive programming. We mentioned it last month, and now this new book comes out, and this character who did figure in this predictive programming narrative references this image in the first couple pages of his book. And I flipped through it. There are no other illustrations. This one is in there by design, and it's a bullet stuck in the moon's eye. Okay, let's see here. That's gross elephant tusks. I don't get caught up in the blue pill politics. I'm voting for Harris. I'm voting for Harris and Waltz because I don't care. I think it's all a hoax. But I think that the attitude that triggered moral outrage on the far right about what the left is doing, their disdain for Kamala, that's programmed. Like, I don't hate Kamala Harris. I don't really have any, my pulse doesn't go up. There's nothing they can do that triggers me. They could nuke Seattle, and I'll pour a cup of coffee and walk over here so we can talk about how fake it is. So they don't really have me. So if you're mad at Kamala Harris and you're mad at Biden, I'm saying that you're still responding to some level of provocation. You're still triggerable. So I'm voting for Harris to protest against those of you who think that voting for Trump matters. And a non vote is still kind of playing their game. So I'm basically doing a protest vote against those of you. And if you have a problem with it, then explain to me why you think it matters. Am I canceling your vote out? Like, let's talk about it. In fact, I got this email and they were going to send me a free Kamala Harris shirt, but I just didn't like the design. I want something a little more cringy. Ted Stryker says voting matters not. I do believe it would matter if we didn't have a news bent reality, if we weren't dealing with a population who are so immersed in this alternate reality game that they're no longer in control. Like, there is no way that they have any power in this thing. It's just a steam valve. But if I was an idealist and I didn't know how fake the news was, I would say, well, of course your vote matters. It's not just what you do in the voting booth, it's what you do leading up to it, how you talk about it, how you influence other people, and every one of you can be an influencer, and, I'd be all positive about it, and we can make change, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's all fake. And the things they're trying to save you from are fake. Like, I'm going to save you from the military age immigrants and the demonic aliens and the fallout or whatever. And it's like, these things are all fake. So what are you trying to save me from? It's like a carnival. Slick Rick said, after reading Project 2025, there's no way I'm voting in Trump. Well, 2025 has been just like a laundry list, a wish list of what they would like to do, but none of those things would get passed without some kind of support from the other side. And the loudest proponents of it would not benefit from it. I mean, Nick Fuentes disavowed Trump because Trump disavows Project 2025. Well, if they implemented Project 2025, Nick Fuentes and his family would be deported. So they're just a bunch of LARPers. Ollie Goering says, warm coffee milk and crispy fluffy chocolate croissants while they fake nuke Seattle. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Deprogrammed Truther said, I told my daughter it only mattered if you participated. Nobody cares who you vote for, she said. Huh, kind of like the Hunger Games. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, I don't even try to get involved with these conversations with people because I know where they're coming from. I'm not brainwashed. It wouldn't be honest of me to pretend to believe the crap they believe and pretend to support what they support. So I'm just like, I'm a conscientious objector. I'm here up on an ivory tower with my fellow auto hoaxers. We're out here on this raft, and at this time, we're just observing you. I'm interested in your opinions, how you got there. I listen to far right, middle, fringe, paranormal, far left, shrill, far left. I listen to everything to understand where people are coming from because what we're doing is we're looking at the worldview itself. I'm not an advocate for any quote party. In fact, I'm anti-war, and I would posit here that if you vote, you cannot claim to be anti-war, not without lying to yourself. And I think all war begins with mind war. So if you're throwing in your little bit of loose, your will, if you're giving your consent to this, well, you're a warmonger. You're totally to blame for traumatic, hyper-realistic school shooting drills. Giving kids PTSD, that's your fault, not mine. You're on the wrong side of the screen, and future historians will look, actually, no, they won't look down on you, because those of us who see the truth, those of us who talk about what's really going on and the fakery, will be scrubbed. The official version of everything is what goes into the history books. Okay, now there's some stuff about the monkey I wanted to talk about, this whole monkey thing, but I wanted to first get into this because this was random. I just saw the book, I saw Knifed, I grabbed the book, opened it, and I said, whoa, that's weird. It's all about, this first chapter is about him getting stabbed in the eye, then he sees the moon, and he thinks about this bullet in the eye the night before. So he had a little bit of a coincidence or a synchronicity. He stares at the moon and imagines this scene where it has a bullet in the eye, and then the next morning he gets stabbed. Anyway, it's called Knife. I haven't read the entire thing. Again, I just grabbed it today. I started reading it. I'm suggesting he's a crisis actor and a liar, which is, kind of cruel to people who don't know. But, we're, again, totally objective here. What's your evidence? I doubt you have any. We're talking about a 33-year hit, $3.3 million. Okay, a couple of things. Let's get into the predictive programming regarding the monkeypox. So on 8/4, in response to an outbreak in Congo and in other neighboring countries in Africa, the WHO on August 14th declared their public health emergency of international concern. They said that the monkeypox is a cause for the highest level of alarm, and this is the second time they've declared Mpox a public health emergency in the last 2 years. So on the same day, Bad Monkey with Vince Vaughn comes out. So there's a little bit of a concurrent programming. Inside Bavarian Nordic, the $3.3 billion Danish pharma giant with the only vaccine for Mpox. Nothing suspicious there. Now, the other thing is you have this new statue that was erected in Houston. I think it's the third tallest statue in America. I mean, yeah, it is. Let me bring this up. So it's this monkey god statue, and I think it's 80 feet tall. No, it's 90. Texas unveils a 90-foot tall Hanuman sculpture. 90 feet tall. A lot of people are mad about it. There's some moral outrage and moral panic from the right wing on Twitter. I'm not mad about it, but I think it's interesting that we have a bad monkey. Now we have this 90-foot monkey god, and then we have the monkeypox, according to some, being spread by Bill Gates via crop dusting or something. But these are all aligning with this general theme. And I've been suggesting, and I said it earlier this summer before they even declared the monkeypox, that the disease X would be coming out, and that it would be a rage virus. And I based this on the timing of the release of Civil War. And the director of Civil War directed 28 days later about a rage virus that comes from monkeys. So again, before monkey virus broke out, we had already been talking about the disease X rage virus that would hit the right wing, and it would leak from Twitter and cause random outbreaks of militia violence, etc. And I said it would be just like 28 days later, the ape-borne rage virus. So we kind of predicted that just based on the story as it was unrolling. But there's more. The game Black Myth Wukong was released yesterday. This was posted by Cubstar, with a ton of fake controversy over the makers not injecting it with woke ideology. In one day, the game got over 1 million concurrent players. That's crazy. 1 million people plugged into this thing, and you play as the Monkey King. So you had 1 million people avataring as the Monkey King yesterday. We have the 90-foot tall monkey god sculpture, monkey on the back, Vince Vaughn movie, monkeypox. And that's not all. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of other elements here. We're still not through it all, but you can see it lining up. Okay, there's more. It turns out, and so Obama just steps out onto the world stage and gives a speech. I didn't listen to it, but he's been out there because of the DNC. So Obama carries a small statue of Hanuman in his pocket. In fact, there's a clip here where he talks about how he has this statue, which again, right-wing Twitter sphere is calling it, quote, demonic. Here he is.
Little statuette of the monkey god Hanuman that a woman gave me. The reason, if I feel tired or I feel discouraged sometimes, I can kind of reach into my pocket and I say, yeah, that's something, that's something I can overcome because somebody gave me this privilege to work on these issues that are going to affect them. I better get back to work. This is
So there you go. Another reference to Hanuman, the monkey god, 90-foot tall statue, Obama's little charm in his pocket, the Bad Monkey movie, Monkey Pox, the Rage virus theme rolling out, which again ties in with apes, and I think there was something else as well, but there are a number of things rolling out here, and I think this is just, again, something else other than a real, quote, pandemic. It's some kind of a story. And I checked, and there's not going to be a lockdown, disappointingly. The experts don't expect there to be a lockdown. I still have my hopes up for Fallout. Fallout could pull it off. Now, what do you think of this? The 47 seconds that saved Kamala Harris's political career. New York Times. The Economic Times. This 47 seconds may have saved Harris's political career. Seems like there's some intimations here that she may become 47. And I hope so. I mean, I don't care either way, but I think it would just be funny or ironic or devastating even if she took the 47, because it would be damaging to the entire Trump 47 brand, and it would invalidate so many hats, t-shirts, and I think one of those MAGA rappers has a 47 tattooed on the side of his face. Like, it would really screw things up. So I'm kind of hoping for that, just for the chaos. Okay, let's continue through your comments. Okay. T Latte says, Biden Harris forgave all my student loan debt. Well, I think you should automatically get refunds on any courses that you can demonstrate to be built on and based around lies. Like, history professor, yeah, you lied about this, 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 and this, and you didn't mention this or this. Or, hey, professor of astronomy, how do we know this is real? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, you've been sold a bill of goods in certain areas where it's not exactly objective, where it's likely your reality has been augmented by some special effects. Luckily, if you are looking for that kind of information, you have the IPS Institute for Advanced Media Deconstruction. In fact, I have to add to this, after this Autohoaxology 101 textbook has been released, I figured I'd have to update this course, but it started off as just a course, an online course. The IPS Institute offers, and this is from Teachable, Mind War Inoculation, which is what you all are. If you listen to Infinite Plane Radio, you're in all likelihood inoculated against the mind war at this stage. Then there's media literacy, PSYOP deconstruction, and metascript analysis. And if you don't listen to Infinite Plane Radio, and I hate to say it, but it's true, you likely have a compromised mental immune system. What some of us refer to here as mind aids. But it's curable. You know, we have the cure. You can actually catch the cure by listening. Kind of like that movie Hot Skull, where the mind viruses are passed around by people's incessant jabbering. I got this comment, I have to read it, I just remembered this. Somebody's advertising on behalf of the IPS. Okay, let me see if I can find it here. Someone was driving around. Okay, it's the other account. He was driving around and he saw some kind of writing on the back of somebody's vehicle. And it said, listen to Infinite Plane Radio. And he tuned in. Okay, here we go. GT Racer 347. I was driving behind a car here in Green Bay. It had a big sign pointing to this channel, and I came back to check it out. And that was on Infinite Plane Saturday, which was on the 17th. So whoever has a big Infinite Plane Radio sign on your vehicle, we all appreciate it. You brought another person into the think tank. And that's how this spreads. In real life, above ground, you can achieve some level of virality with traditional marketing methods. And I have a lot of ideas for that, which we'll get into. In fact, the next major thing is the release of The Insider, Issue 1, which will come out and be released in time for the first little conference here. I was working on that today. And also, if you ordered press passes, I may have emailed you. Those have gone out. Books have gone out. I've been catching up on a lot of things, so we're just about caught up. Okay, DNC Freemasonry hand symbols off the charts, says Slick Rick. Yeah, I'll have to catch up and watch it. I was watching Donald Trump on some show. He was being interviewed by some I think he's a comedian. I can't tell if these guys are comedians or trolls or if they're just damaged from whatever drugs they've taken. But Trump was being asked about cocaine, and he's a teetotaler. It seemed like they were just trying really hard to create viral moments, make it look spontaneous. I don't buy it. Anybody here have any kind of anything else regarding the whole monkey thing? Conscious Daughter says, I don't like how they expect me to vote for her because she's supposedly a black female and too rebellious to vote. I don't like their agenda and how they keep pushing the race division. Yeah, the identity politics is ridiculous. It's just shallow. It really is. But it's all invalidated by the existence of the PSYOP entertainment complex and the primacy of fake, even in the realm of politics. You know, I was thinking about the distinction between what we do and what Jurassic Liars does in his breakdown of the news, and I realized that a lot of our insights and information come from movies and films and video games, whereas he's finding predictive programming and foreshadowing in the news, watching CNN. I mean, we do both, but it's just notable here that predictive programming isn't merely encoded in the entertainment, it is widespread. It's all across the board. In fact, I have a pretty good montage that I found a couple of days ago. And it's showing you how, I think it was Goofy. There was some Disney movie, and we do live in a Disney universe here on Planet Netflix. Here it is. The Goofy movie from 2000 has a lot of imagery suggestive of the Twin Towers getting blasted. So let me just play the short clip here. Super Friends, 1978. Goofy, 2000. There's a paper plane flying around. And he opens it up and it has 911 with exclamation marks, two of them. Disney Sabrina, 2000. Twin Towers burning. Anyway, this is a full 2 minutes of stuff I hadn't seen. So if you want to catch up on a lot of these instances of predictive programming, again, these are not eerie coincidences. This is not evidence that we're in a simulation. This is not Mandela effect territory. This is simply part of the standard operating procedure. This is their MO. They are entraining you to their future news. They are programming you with these bits of narrative, imagery, and in a way you're mentally being rehearsed. You're going through these drills for things that are to come. But it is so commonplace, you can no longer say that these are anomalies. And the more we look, the more we see, and this is not anything mystical, is my point. We've demystified predictive programming. One of the major advances, I think, in what we have been doing. I mean, look, so many examples of Twin Towers just falling. This is a Ghostbusters cartoon, 1986.
Ghostbusters to tower! We're coming in!
Unbelievable. Okay, let's continue. We have all seen these. We could probably put together a 2-hour compilation. Thomas Hughes, I'm getting some press passes soon. Awesome, good to hear it. You will be unlockdownable. Ted Stryker has IPR stickers on his truck. I'll make some more available. I have some designs. Okay, if you want a link to that, I'll post a link right below and you can go ahead and collect these clips. Okay, continuing. Just played catch up, and in regard to the monkey theme, says Etheric Bliss, you missed the video with Black Myth Wukong that was just released. Yeah, we were just talking about it because Cubstar had mentioned it, how 1 million people were concurrently playing this game where you play the Monkey King. So there's something going on here. Thank you for the link. I'll go ahead and bring this up. Okay. No, if you want to send it again, just drop the link. Black Myth Wukong that was just released. Let's see if I can find the trailer. Unbelievable. It smashed the Steam single player. Okay, I believe this broke a big record last night. So we're looking at a video for this video game Black Myth. Just smashed the Steam single player game record. Just play a few seconds of it.
Absolutely stunning success because Black Myth Wukong is doing so well that it's actually doubled the peak player count of Elden Ring on Steam. Hell, the Steam reviews are well north of 100,000, probably like over 140, 150k right now. They're hovering around 96%.
Okay, well, this is fascinating. So again, just to reiterate, you play the Monkey King with a million other people. There's a 90-foot tall monkey god statue that just gets erected as monkeypox breaks out. And the Vince Vaughn movie Bad Monkey is released on the same day that the new global threat is declared. So there we have a pretty good example of a theme being pushed, being forced into the collective psyche. What's the agenda here? Not quite sure. But you can see how, when you look at it from a off-world stage perspective and decompartmentalize your assessment of media, this is certainly aligned. These are way too synchronized to be nothing. By the way, I have one thing I want to mention about the misinformation effect, the Mandela effect. Simple question can you answer said, you have to admit that if John McCain's phrase turns into yippee-ki-yay, good buddy, we all know it will have changed. Or if Andy from Shawshank says, get busy living or get busy dancing, we will know it's a change. The change is the media seeing what they can change or get away with. Again, it's a misunderstanding of what the Mandela effect is, and so here's the point I wanted to reiterate. The Mandela effect is independent of any media manipulation. It is solely the byproduct of the interaction between the interviewer and the interviewee. We have already solved this one. Debunked. Joined by CMGZ510. Thanks for joining. Jamie Costco said, just saw a clip of Nancy Pelosi saying they're going to be reptilian. I'll have to see that. What else? Jamie Costco, it's monkeys versus reptiles in Kong versus Godzilla. Now that's interesting too. So if you think about it, because the last Godzilla movie, you have to see it. It had this theme where Godzilla's spikes turned pink, and the color pink has been consistently associated with this nuke scenario in a certain way, which we talked about quite a bit last year, but I hadn't thought about that because it is the case that Godzilla is a metaphor. He actually represents the atom bomb or the beast from the sea, and there's a lot of overlap here with these various themes. So there has to be some place in which King Kong fits in here. But this ape theme, this monkey theme is a big deal. And again, I'd pointed out that we had already looked at this rage virus forecast in 28 days later, which comes from an ape, as being in play right now as the form in which disease X will manifest. Yeah, his barbs were pink, exactly. Barbie pink. Planet of the Apes recently came out. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Now that I think about it, when I started this live stream, we talked about the Paris Olympics and the opening imagery and the bullet in the eye of the moon, which was referenced by Salman Rushdie in his newly released book. But another image that they showed you at the Paris Olympics was the busted up Statue of Liberty with a broken crown. Well, that's from Planet of the Apes. And it has to do with this post-apocalyptic nightmare future scenario. Typical stuff. But here we go. Planet of the Apes. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes 2024. Okay. The fourth film in the reboot franchise. I guess you can stream it right now. I haven't heard too much about it, but this is another element to add into this. And we're not cherry picking. Like, these are unusual things. If you think about the totality of it, one, you have the unusual thing of an international emergency, the monkeypox. Then you have the video game breaking records with 1 million people entrained to this monkey character. They're all digital avatars at the same time. Giant statue, Vince Vaughn. Then there's the Planet of the Apes movie. Like, what's really going on here? Virtual reality witness says Dolly's braces no longer exist. They never did. It's a false memory. It's a false memory. And the method, the mechanism by which Mandela effects are created is very well understood. Ask anyone who has been wrongfully convicted based upon faulty eyewitness testimony. It happens a lot, and it's very well understood. The Mandela effect is created by the person asking the question. I put out a 2-minute video yesterday explaining it if you want to catch up. And one other point here, Mandela effect is controlled opposition. Might as well say it. It's not harmless. It's not just conspiracy candy, clickbait. No. The Mandela effect is an attack on your cognition. It's an active measure. It's meant to prevent you from recognizing that there's a model of the world that we've all accepted, and there's the real thing. They want you to think that the media is presenting you a facsimile of the real thing. They don't want you to recognize the amount of distortion, as in the fake news, the fake parameters, where real is augmented by fake. They don't want you to see that we live in a simulation mentally, but that the physical world is in fact as real as we experience it. And what happens is the people who promote the idea of simulation theory or Mandela effect say, no, the news is fake and weirdly full of coincidences because nothing is real. That's what you're saying. If you're saying nothing is real, you went too far. You were misled. No, we have to be a little more precise, surgically precise, when we analyze and decide what we believe and what we don't. And what's the arbiter of this? Not some bold claim that nothing's real, or the bold claim that everything's real according to the screen, but rather it's on a case-to-case basis and it requires individual discernment. And no simulation theorist or Mandela effectee has done anything to make their case, and they haven't provided evidence. So Hitchens razor, you can dismiss it. You've been dismissed. Come back with evidence for any of your Mendoozle fantasies. Until then, Mandela effect has been dismissed. Okay, I'm catching up on your comments. Virtual reality witness says Brian Staveley's the worst spokesman. There is no Mandela effect outside of the misinformation effect. And here's how it works. I can explain it in 30 seconds. It's because it's always a binary. Let me just start with this. You cannot provide me one Mandela effect out of the entire catalog that has multiple versions. It's always either or. It's a Carney trick. A or B. Now here's how it works. When the person asks, do you remember this or that, whatever it happens to be, one of those two doesn't exist. But when they ask you if you remember it, your imagination is prompted. Kind of like these AI generators. They wrote a prompt. So now, when you're recollecting it, you're remembering this thing. Some old underwear, or a logo, or a candy logo. In particular, Kit Kat. Someone says, do you remember Kit Kat with a hyphen or not? Well, you have both images in your mind. Your imagination will supply the one that never existed. But they're given equal weight in that moment. And in addition to them putting a false memory alongside a real memory and deliberately sowing confusion by gaslighting you by suggesting reality's fake, you may already be predisposed to believe. Maybe you want to join the club. There's a lot of reasons why you might want to join the Mandela Effect Club. A lot of people waiting for you on the other side. And then there's the shame and the disdain that you'll have to deal with if you're not Mandela affected, because they'll call you a zombie. They'll say, oh, you're a fluoride head and your mind's dissolved and you can't remember, but reality's shifting. No, reality's not shifting. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of different areas you can look at this thing and just debunk it, but the main one is this. They're prompting a false memory. That's what they're doing. It's gaslighting. In fact, it's not only gaslighting, it's self-deception, and it erodes your credibility as a witness. If you're going to tell me that reality is constantly shifting and our bodies are always changing, your heart's going to move, there's moleholes in your head, all kinds of things they've maintained. If you're going to say that, then why should I care when you say that the death toll in this particular school shooting isn't so? So no, the simulation theorists out there are not making a distinction between fake news and fake reality. They're saying, no, everything's fake. Reality's fake. No, reality's real. The version of it that you're given is a selective interpretation and shouldn't be confused with the real thing. The map's not the territory. Also, the Mandela effect is stale. There hasn't been a new one in like 30 years. And it's kind of a joke at this point. You have these people saying, I remember Ed McMahon passing out big checks. It's like, I'm pretty sure you were a baby when he actually was alleged to have done that. And I have yet to receive any communications from somebody saying, hey, I know you're a critic of it, but my family's rich. We live in a mansion because Ed McMahon gave my great-great-grandmother a check. Said nobody ever. Find me the beneficiary of a big fat check. Slick Rick says, I woke up to the fluoride agenda 20 years ago. I don't believe the fluoride agenda is real. I think that's also a hoax. I think it's a hoax to sell water filters. I always wondered why Alex Jones never got into chemtrail masks. He got into water filters by selling the fake fear of fluoride. Why isn't he selling masks for the fake fear of clouds? I mean, isn't that the gig? No, I mean, I wish it was true about the fluoride, because I'm pretty high strung and I can't relax, I can't sleep. It'd be nice if I could just drink fluoride and I become apathetic. Supposedly you drink fluoride or fluoridated water and you turn into a communist. Isn't that the original conspiracy? It never turned me into a communist, and I drank straight tap for years. When I was in the army and after the army, I never even thought twice about it. And I think I'm just fine. Come to think of it, I was injected with the anthrax vax like at least 6 or 7 times. So I'm living proof that these things are harmless. Or maybe not. Maybe this entire channel is the byproduct of fluoride and me being a human guinea pig for Uncle Sam. Slick Rick says, always tell the dentist you're allergic to fluoride. I'll say, yeah, I listen to Alex Jones and I'm terrified of fluoride. And can you give me a mask because those clouds look threatening? No, look, I would suggest that any kind of fear-based conspiracy theory is a hoax. They want you to be afraid of the water. They want you to be afraid of the air that you breathe. Like you're afraid. I don't understand. Elephant Tusk says, Tim, Matthew Broderick starred in the movie Project X about experimenting in apes in a secret Air Force project. I think I may have seen that. Maybe I've seen a commercial for it. Now this is good. 1987. Okay, this is interesting. So just to connect all of this, I used to say, good morning, disease X, every morning on Twitter when it became X, because my contention here is that the WHO's proposed disease X, the big disease that's going to take us all down, it's a placeholder concept for a pathogen that goes pandemic, but it has not yet been characterized. So what I said was they're going to release the mind virus that's going to come out of X, that's going to turn into rage and terrorism, and they're going to say, this is why we must curtail free speech. See, this is why I say Elon Musk is a fall guy for free speech, because he releases this. He released Disease X, and it's a rage virus. Now, I connected this to the movie Civil War, which is about militias and a bunch of ragey militias who hate media, meaning they caught the rage virus. So Civil War is directed by the guy that did 28 Days Later. And 28 Days Later is about a rage virus that comes from apes. Uncontrollable rage. So the connection here, Disease X, Civil War, ape-born rage virus from the same director as Civil War. Now we add to this what the commenter just posted about the Matthew Broderick movie, Project X, and it has to do with the military is given the task of looking after some chimpanzees used in a mysterious Project X. It's a secret project. Now, is it something to do with violence? Let me check the wiki. Okay, here we go. I'm going through the Wikipedia to see exactly what they are doing with the chimpanzees. Turning them into pilots, I believe. But anyway, there's some kind of connection here. Then you got Ferris Bueller. Okay, I'm going through your comments. Nick Fingar says, I know an alcoholic who doesn't work because he gets a check in the mail because his grandfather invented the club. One of the most useful inventions of all time. I have a club in my truck because someone tried to hotwire it, and now you can start my truck with a screwdriver. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, who's going to come steal a truck like this? I have a new catalytic converter and a new muffler because my other one was taken. You know, I was thinking about that. The skill set required to, you got to be like a ninja to get in there at night, get beneath the vehicle, take this big piece of metal, and go in. I mean, there's some skills involved, and it's also dangerous. And there's no insurance, and they're dealing with toxic metals. It's like you could probably get a job at a regular shop. But if it wasn't for a club, I would not have a truck. And if my truck gets stolen, the company behind the club has some kind of a policy. I think they'll give me a couple $1,000s. It just never happens. Tomanoid says 28 years later, scheduled to be released in the United States and Canada on June 20th, 2025. Is that a follow-up? Okay, as Waldo says, it's about monkeys flying planes and nuking them with radiation. Okay. Slick Rick says, what's the benefit of fluoride use? Let's take a look. To help prevent tooth decay. That's what it is. It strengthens the enamel. The idea that it turns you into a communist is an old conspiracy theory that has been repurposed by people like Alex Jones, who sells water filters. And I'm personally annoyed by it because I have been surrounded by people who are terrified of drinking fluoridated water. So I always find myself carrying cases of water all the time. And it's like, you can't drink tap. No. I know people who would die of dehydration if they didn't have bottled water. They'd be reduced to bones, like skeletons, just desiccated corpses because they're not going to drink the tap because of Alex Jones. Like, the fear is real. The phobia. And that's really what it comes down to. I'm not afraid of 5G towers, and the 5G phobics, they don't like me. Do you remember in 2020 there were people burning 5G towers because they believed it was zapping people and giving them COVIDs? Okay, let's move on. Pippi Langstruff says, the monkey ate my homework. Jennifer Ree says, it says on the toothpaste not to swallow it. Sure. But with everything, you know, the poison is in the dosage. And I think that's like water. You can drink too much water and you could die. But no, you can swallow some small amounts. But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's something there. But to be an anti-fluoride crusader at this stage is just, to me, it's like residual trutherism. And I'm fine with, I don't care. You know, fear what you want. But I'm not going to buy a water filter and enrich Alex Jones while he conspires with the Sandy Hookers to make you look crazy. And that's really what he's doing. You know, forget the gun grab psyop. Nobody cares. No one's going to take your guns. There's more guns than people in this country. But Jones conspired with the Sandy Hookers to make you look crazy for knowing how fake the news is. Tom103 says bats add flavor. Okay, let's see here. Skyfish says a friend of mine has work truck stolen 7 times. Last time they have him on cam reinstalling the club after they stole it, stripped it, and returned it in his driveway. Okay, well, yeah, the fluoride conspiracy theory is ancient, and I think it even started. Let me pull this up because I remember I came across something kind of interesting about this on the wiki page, and it has to do with the communist scare, and I believe there was some mention of Flint. Here we go. This is interesting. The communist conspiracy theory declined by the mid-60s. It became associated with irrational fear and paranoia. It was portrayed in Stanley Kubrick's film. Interesting connection here. Dr. Strangelove, where the General Jack D. Ripper initiates a nuclear war in the hope of thwarting a communist plot to impurify the body fluids with fluoridated water. So there you go. In Dr. Strangelove, they want to drop the bomb to stop the fluoridated water. Goes on to say there's another satire that came out in 1967 called In Like Flint, in which a character's fear of fluoridation is used to indicate that he's insane. Now this one stood out to me as interesting because In Like Flint makes me think of Flint, Michigan. And if anything, you think Flint, Michigan, you think don't drink the water. Isn't that kind of the thing? Flint water crisis. So there's some kind of connection here, I think. Vague maybe, but the Flint water crisis from 2014, In Like Flint, one of the main satires that kicked off this fluoride phobia after the Kubrick film. But I'm not a fluoride phobic. I'm not a Bill Gates phobic. I'm not a sky phobic. But we're looking at the monkey theme. So let's just recap. Planet of the Apes, Return to Planet of the Apes. The Paris movie, or intro video, has the Planet of the Apes reference. We have a 90-foot monkey sculpture, 1 million people plugged in to a monkey character in a video game. As a Vince Vaughn movie, Bad Monkey comes out on the same day, the WHO declares monkeypox against the backdrop of the encroaching rage virus from Disease X, which has several connections to apes. One being 28 Days Later, Civil War, and the other being Project X from 1987. It seems to be lining up. That's right, Leo Biddle, we found that. Obama carries that monkey statue in his pocket. And I played that clip and it seemed relevant simply because he's out there on the world stage right now. Yeah, but Texas has a 90-foot tall statue, the third in the world. No, the third tallest in America, rather. So what are they trying to tell us? Like, I don't have an answer yet, but something is being communicated here. And if you just got here, I picked up Salman Rushdie's book. We've talked about the significance of the eye wound, the 33-year fatwa, the $3.3 million. I pick up the book, open it, and he's discussing how the night before he was stabbed in the eye, he was staring at the moon and just happened to be thinking about this particular image with the bullet in the right eye of the moon. Strange association to have. In other news, Cypher, or Andrew Tate, has been arrested again. It's amazing the lengths his fans will go to defend him. Like, they're so quick to say Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are trafficking children, but then when they find the same behavior on their own side, they will say, oh no, it's only because he spoke out against Israel. They're all covering for it, and it's almost like Behind the Perv, watching Candace Owen attacking a 15-year-old victim, or alleged victim. And these are allegations, I'm sure. And maybe you can kind of dance around certain alarming quotes and say, no, there's nothing to see here. And you can run cover for this alt media hero who cares nothing about you. If you want to defend him, fine. But what you can't defend is the content of the courses they teach, or how his brother Tristan talked about how he enjoyed the pain he inflicted on some poor girl he lured in to take her virginity. I mean, these guys are creeps and predators, and it's just crazy how people are defending them. And I remember saying months ago that Candace Owen has a very pronounced case of internalized misogyny, and it's on full display right now. But this might be part of a broader pattern of far-right influencers being taken down or having falls from grace. I've noticed there's a lot being tossed around. And I'm wondering, are we looking at a controlled demolition here in preparation for the downfall of MAGA? Or is MAGA going to continue? I mean, I'm interested in anybody's opinions here. Elephant Tusk says, a lot of this has to do with what they did to Harambe the gorilla. Chaos Coordinator talked about this years ago. Has to do with experiments they were doing with monkey genes. Isabel Ann says, don't eat the monkey soup. It's just very conspicuous. All this monkey stuff right here. Let's see. Now, I'm not going to get deep into the Andrew Tate stuff. It's just impossible to ignore it. But he said, 9 hours into the house search, and an armed police officer looks at me apologetically and shrugs and says, you made somebody angry. The inference here is that because he and Candace Owens have spoken out against Israel and Jews, he's being unfairly attacked. I don't know. It's really strange, again, that people would want to defend any of these characters. Vision for the Blind posted this. Little known fact. Samuel Jackson, who was in college at the time, was an usher at Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral. And you can see him here, pallbearer, or his hands on the casket. So there he is. And here's some other images of Samuel Jackson doing the one eye symbolism and other gestures. What does this mean? Well, in the bigger context, the shooting of MLK was likely a psyop, as these other assassinations all have been. And so here's an actor who may be inside. Kind of reminds me of Meatloaf, the actor and singer who was at Parkland Hospital after JFK was shot and claims that he saw the blood on the Ford Lincoln. You have these characters who are just like lifetime actors. Oh, one other thing. With all these monkey connections, this one is huge, and we shouldn't ignore this one. The game Black Myth, where you have 1 million concurrent players breaking records, and you play the Monkey King. So you have 1 million people in a game, in a simulated universe, where they are the Monkey King as the statue comes up. Like, there's something going on here. This is far too coordinated. Oswaldo says the monkey in the movie Nope was based on Travis the chimp. Now, I'm glad you brought that up. And Janky Frames cover says they're working on the movie 28 Days Later right now. Well, check this out. This was sent to me earlier today. There's a movie called Monkey Man. And here's the trailer. And this is by Jordan Peele.
Close your eyes, and you will find yourself.
So we're looking at this movie, Monkey Man's trailer, and I don't have a clear idea on what it's about, but it has this Monkey Man character in a boxing ring. So it says here, inspired by the legend of Hanuman, this is actually about the monkey god. It stars Patel as a kid, a young man who ekes out a living in an underground fight club where night after night he wears a gorilla mask and he fights more popular fighters for cash. I see. So he gets beaten down quite a bit. Now, one of the things that stands out to me about this too is that the timing of the movie, obviously, like Planet of the Apes and the video game and these other references, but this is by Jordan Peele, and his movie Nope was about a UFO. I mean, that was kind of the main theme, but if you read his own description of it, it was really about the controversy and the spectacle around the death scene of George Floyd. But the movie Nope opens up with this Travis the chimp, a murderous monkey. So you have the rage monkey in Nope. Same director did Monkey Man, about a rage monkey, a guy in a gorilla mask who's enraged after being beaten for so many times that I guess he takes some kind of revenge. That's what we're looking at here. So the common association with the ape here is rage. Looks good though. But again, this is let me see here. Oh no, this wasn't Jordan Peele. I thought this was Jordan. Which one is Jordan Peele? I thought this was Jordan Peele. No, this is produced by Dev Patel. I'll see if I can get some more information on this one. But no, Jordan Peele did the Nope that has the ape. No, actually he is on here. He's producer Jordan Peele. Is director Dev Patel. Okay, so I knew he was in here. And Jordan Peele is a major league metascripter. The death of Jordan Neely on the subway, being choked by Daniel Penny, in all likelihood was directed by Jordan Peele, as was Discerned by Synchro Morpheus. Ryler 05, yep. The movie Nope has the raging, murderous chimp in it. And again, before this, months ago, in fact, maybe about 6 months ago, I was saying Disease X is referring to the rage virus. It was when that Robert Card shot up the bowling alley. I said Disease X is the rage virus. And then when Civil War came out, I brought up 28 Days Later. And so we have been making this association for some time now between a mind virus that transmits rage, specifically to the right wing, and has the association of Civil War, as the movie Civil War, same director as 28 Days Later. And now we have, of course, the WHO 814 release date of the Mpox, coordinated with the Vince Vaughn movie, Bad Monkey. So Bad Monkey, very bad, because it's, of course, the rage virus theme here. Quite a lot here. And then Jordan Peele, Monkey Man, Ragey Man in a monkey suit. And Nope starts off with the raging monkey. But this 80-foot tall monkey sculpture coinciding with the video game here, where there's 1 million people concurrently plugged in a Black Myth, 1 million people plugged in, that's insane. But this is a lot of references to the Monkey God. So the movie Monkey Man, the sculpture, and this game, all of this stuff is very coordinated. Something else I want to mention, Salman Rushdie was shot on 8/12. So after the end of the Dog Days of Summer. Don't know if that matters. Zinvala says monkeys are all the rage right now. Yeah. Okay, Oswaldo says Project X experiments on monkeys and then kills them by radiation, simulating a nuke effect on pilots. So there is the nuke theme tied into this. Interesting. Well, we're going to have to map this out, but I'm finding all this to be intriguing because these are some pretty strong connections here. This isn't cherry picking. This is concerted messaging. In fact, I was on Twitter today, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So there's another one. It's hard to keep up with all of them. I was on Twitter looking at this conversation with Synchro Morpheus and someone else, and they were saying about Trump. Now, Trump can't be the Antichrist, and it's like, we're not looking at this as biblical literalists, as prophets, or any of that. We're looking at what I termed syncretic storytelling. So syncretic storytelling refers to the way that these various movies or psyops have layers, sometimes attached to myths, religious myths, or various archetypes that are just beneath the surface, or sometimes obvious, but it's meant to mash these together. So syncretism refers to aspects of different religions or worldviews that are compatible, so you can layer them. Like, for example, I described the rocket as a modern obelisk. That would be an example of this syncretism. And so in this Trump story, you have the story of Christ overlaid on Trump in various aspects, very ham-fistedly and undeniable. But then you have all kinds of anti-Christy stuff, and sometimes it's pretty subtle, but you can see it's there. It's like the head wound with a miraculous healing, and as he's walking off the stage, he has 6 Secret Service agents around him, and his head pokes up with the blood, and he's saying, "Fight, fight, fight." And yeah, it does look like the Beast of Revelation with 7 heads, and one of them sustaining a wound. Like, yeah, that's not to say that Trump, quote, is the Antichrist in the biblical literalist sense, and nobody agrees on this stuff anyway. But this is the way the story is being told. And this story has, again, layers to it, and it has to do with the merging between the movie and the real world, like the news and the entertainment, but they throw in religious stuff. And there are so many examples of this and how common this is. The modern world is built on syncretism. I used to refer to Noah quite a bit as one of the best examples of this. Noah's warning you that there's going to be a flood if you don't change your wicked ways. And I'm not talking about Noah from the Bible. I'm talking about the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And like Noah from the Bible, their symbol is the dove, which brings the olive branch to tell Noah that the flood waters have receded, that God is done punishing the wicked. Well, the wicked today, who cause the oceans to rise, are the carbon superspreaders, polluters, capitalists, etc. But this is deliberate. And you can find elements of this, aspects of this syncretism all over the place. All these new God constructs, templated off of older God constructs. That's why I say that there's already a, quote, new world order. It's not coming. It's the old one with a new paint job. So when we're looking at the storytelling, we look at it from the perspective of it being a story, and we're analyzing this as you would a film. And the different aspects to it are purposely put there to add layers of meaning. It's pretty clear there's an exoteric and an esoteric interpretation for nearly everything. Oswaldo says, Planet of the Apes was started by experimenting on apes and monkeys. Okay, I didn't know that. So that's another example here, another connection to Project X. Some apes, like the movie character Caesar, were born in labs, while others were stolen from the wild and had been given over to experiments. Okay. Ryler05 says DNA is a hoax, just to throw that out there. 777 says the Mr. Beast scripted drama is also concurrent with the Beast verse in Revelation. Yeah, I look at a lot of these characters on the world stage as propaganda carriers. They're in place to convey specific messages at various times. They're props. But there are no coincidences on the world stage. It's safe to say, like, the synchromystics have it right. There are no coincidences when it comes to the news and the media and the interrelationship between these things that should be compartmentalized and separate. And while there are no coincidences, it's not to say that these are inexplicable synchronicities or eerie coincidences. No, these are in fact hallmarks of a completely manipulated media which is designed to present a very specific and narrow worldview. Lean Dion says the original monkeypox started with tests on monkeys in a lab. I've also read. This is really getting to be something. This is interesting. Just look at all the different references to this monkey god and all the people who are immersed in this right now. The world is facing a pandemic as this giant statue pops up and 1 million people are playing this video game. Multiple movies come out, all hitting on this same theme. And the common denominator that we've discerned has been it's associated with rage. And I specifically think the 28 Days Later Civil War movie director is a key player in this particular script. Okay, continuing. I'll do an update on the Salman Rushdie after I finish reading it. I may have to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm also going to watch the new Dead Reckoning Tom Cruise movie. I have quite a lot to catch up on. But one thing I am working on consistently is I'm getting ready for the AutoHoax Con, and I just placed an order to get a number of these posters printed out. So that, I mean, I think these posters, the ones I'm referring to, these maps of the world stage, have a great deal of explanatory power. To visually see the box that we're describing and where you reside in it. And to make the point that no, there is no escape. Like, you are in this box by default, unless you have stepped out of it. And if you're still under the spell and you're still on the wrong side of the screen, it's very easy to tell. And this will be infuriating to old school truthers, people who grew up just fighting the resistance, hating George Soros, fearing Bill Gates, because they're going to find that their entire world concept is a subset of the mainstream, and it's not outside of it, but it is in fact a funhouse mirror version of it, and it's designed to prevent them from seeing how fake it is. This is where I think people like I like David Icke and his work, but I think that individuals like him serve a purpose to infuse trutherism with enough new ageism to lead them into simulation theory. And simulation theory is not a legitimate explanation of anything at this point. Simulation theory is a false model they've given to those who see through the fake news. Again, the news does present a simulation, but since it's not an accurate reflection of the real world, the fakery of the fakeness of the news doesn't mean reality's fake. And they want you to have a total break. Catching up on your comments. If you want to call in, it's 505-510-4226. So we talked about the Monkey Man trailer, Black Myth smashing records, a whole slew of movies here, and then the monkeypox itself, which again, disappointingly, is not expected to lead to lockdowns. We should stop pretending. Like, let's just not pretend like people don't enjoy lockdowns. I think more people than not were for it. That's why there wasn't unified resistance. So many people were in on the grift on some level. Elephant Tusk says the first gorilla vax for C19 was in Australia 2019. Oh yeah, that's right. I recall. I still don't have a firm opinion on what all of this means. I'm still kind of gathering it together. It kind of depends on how significant this so-called outbreak goes. Couple of disturbing headlines. Police raid Andrew Tate's home in Romania as new allegations emerge involving minors. I'm only throwing this out there because it's being pushed, and I'm interested to see who defends it, because people reflexively defend some of the worst behaviors because they like that person's political opinions. I'm like, that's not a good reason. We talked about Obama's monkey statue. Again, this has to be something. We'll get to it though. I'm sure we'll figure out where it's all leading. This is something else I wanted to play. This is related to something we talked about yesterday. Professor Elizabeth Loftus. She's one of the nation's leading experts on memory. And I would put her expertise above that of somebody who thinks that Dolly had braces. She's been an expert witness in hundreds of cases. Hundreds of cases. And so we're talking about court cases, dealing with faulty eyewitness testimony. And this is where I found that anecdote where these people were giving a description of Disneyland and they said that Bugs Bunny was there. Well, Bugs Bunny's not there. He's Warner Brothers. But she said she had planted the suggestion by putting a Bugs Bunny on a Disney poster in full view of them, and without even referencing the poster itself. She managed to get people to describe Disneyland and they would just add in Warner Brothers characters. Just showing how you can plant suggestions, and I think a lot of predictive programming consists of post-hypnotic suggestions. Let me go ahead and play a clip here.
Things that didn't happen, or remember things differently from the way they actually occurred. So in one of the paradigms that I've used for studying memory, what we do is we show people a simulated crime or an accident, and then we might try to deliberately feed them some misinformation about what they experienced. So they might see the car go through a yield sign, and we suggest to them that it's a stop sign. And what happens when people are exposed to this misinformation is sometimes they will adopt it as their own memory and become convinced of it.
In other words, the way they ask the questions, the loaded questions, the framing of it, the interrogator's influence does in fact create false memories. This is well understood. And it's probably a good idea for us to understand how this works, because this is, I think, one of the tactics of the PSYOP entertainment complex itself. But anyway, what she's describing here is how easy it is to get people who are exposed to it's called the misinformation effect, to have their memories actually messed with. And this is exactly how the Mandela effect works.
Even though it's a distorted detail. Then what we did is to see just how far you can go with people. We tried to plant entirely false memories into the minds of people for things that didn't happen. And we were able, through the power of suggestion, to convince people, for example, that they were lost in a shopping mall when they were 5 years old, that they were frightened and crying, and ultimately were rescued by an elderly person and reunited with the family, all through the power of suggestion. So what these studies show, and not just studies done by me.
I'll put a link to this below if you want to watch it. It's pretty conclusive about the malleability of memory and how every time you recall it, you somewhat influence it. But the main part here I want to make, main point, is that the Mandela effect is solely a byproduct of the interaction between the interviewer and the interviewee and the framing of the question. That is it. That's why they're all binaries. That's why it's always either or. We've totally debunked this, and I think it's worth debunking, and hopefully many of those who've been afflicted with the ME can see through it and understand how they got mandoozled, because I think it's helpful to see through sleight of mind. And then you become resistant to things. That's why I call this mind war inoculation. You won't fall for loaded questions. You won't accept a faulty premise. You won't be influenced through somebody gaslighting you into questioning your own perceptions. And then, of course, you won't allow them into your head to falsely or to prompt a false memory. Janky Frame says, how long do you think this level of predictive programming has been going on? Since the advent of modern media. But the techniques of controlling the masses through pageantry, through fear of gods, through essentially psychological operations, it's as old as religion. In fact, one of the best arguments for, or the best explanations for what we're talking about with the PSYOP entertainment complex is instrumentum regni, which is a Latin phrase attributed to Tacitus. And it says, and this is a quote from Polybius, and it has to do with the exploitation of religion by the state to control the masses. It says, superstition maintains the cohesion of the Roman state. As every multitude is fickle, full of lawless desire, unreasoned passion, and violent anger, the multitude must be held in by invisible terrors and pageantry. He goes on to say, I think not the ancients acted rashly by introducing among the people notions concerning gods and the beliefs in the terrors of hell. He goes on to say that the moderns are rash for banishing such beliefs. So the argument here is that the bread and circuses, the terror of the gods, and I would bring up the nuke, the mushroom cloud. Yeah, that's a god construct. Gaia, who's going to flood you if you don't recycle and pay your carbon taxes. These are god constructs that are used for what? Regulating people. The instrument of monarchy. That's what this phrase means. And they've been doing this forever, but it's been fine-tuned. It's far more sophisticated now. And they have moved more people and synchronized more people than ever before. And that's where we're at right now, where we are, quote, globally synchronized. It's monolithic. It's a monolithic mind control apparatus. We all have the same view, or rather we're supposed to anyway. We're all supposed to look at the world through Big Brother's lens finder, his viewfinder. Pingu33 says the 90-foot statue comes from Finnish mythology. Hans Odinman, a man from Odin. Interesting. I'll have to look into it. I want to know more about it because there's just, right now, there's an outbreak of monkey memes. It's a meme outbreak, and it's a meme-demic. Okay, we'll continue this conversation tomorrow. I will likely map out all these different facets because there's some bigger picture here. I don't want to miss anything. I appreciate everybody's contributions here, and as always, your comments are really what helps us put this big puzzle together. This is One-Eyed Jack and the Shells, Ed McMahon. We'll continue this conversation earlier tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have more time for calls.
Well, I used to be unaffected. Didn't care if the fish had braces, only knew that Ed could save us all. What is real? I don't know. Hard to understand. There used to be a cornucopia in my pants. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon. Shift us to the new timeline. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon. Bring me a giant check next time. Well, trouble ain't what people don't know, it's what they know. That ain't so, said the OG Cress's acting Marlboro Man. It's a miracle, it's true. I know my memories ain't no fool. I've seen the Chinese dude get mowed down by the tank. Seen it on TV, me eating Bates and Smiley, and a double bind that got your mind in, and a tasty cup of noodles for your soul.
People look at South America, and that's what made me realize, whoa, South America's like 1,000 miles over. And again, it moves more after that. It's even further than 1,000 miles. And I'm just guessing, it's just way over to the right, way over to the east. And, where I come from, I believe that's still where I come from. I believe this reality is indeed in flux. Absolutely. We're going to talk about flip-flops as well.
Well, what will you do when you find out you don't exist? You've been faked out. No gold notches, no box of chocolates in this neighborhood. Well, I was there, man. I ate the Fruit Loops. I seen that movie with Tom Cruise. Please don't take these precious memories from my heart. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon. Go ahead and leave the gaslight on. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon. Go ahead and leave the gaslight on. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon. Go ahead and leave the gaslight on.
Get into a little phrase that I like to say, called everyone knows, because it seems to trigger the trolls and deniers. And they literally go around and, these Mandela effect deniers will go around and they'll make videos about how Brian Staley goes around and says everybody knows that we are the best. We're gonna talk about that today. How we are the best, everybody knows. And you can put the two together and it says everybody knows we are the best, right? Fucking double bang for the buck, you know what I mean, baby?